Good morning, guys. So I had another question by another artist. So he asked, the question was when should you open up your own shop? When do you know you're ready? And based off of this, and also, should you do it solo? So this is a very good question. So I'm going to try to elaborate on this a little bit and give you my thoughts. How do you know that you're ready to open up your own shop, and should you? And if you do decide to do that, should you do it alone, or should you maybe seek out partnerships or do it with other people in some fashion or another? That's a very good question, and it's not an easy answer. It really depends on a lot of things. And what I'm going to touch back to actually is something that, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but Patrick Bet-David is a wonderful person from what I can tell. I don't know him personally. I'd love to meet him, but really awesome guy from what I can tell. And, he was talking about something in one of his seminars or one of his speeches, and he was talking about the difference between number one guys, two guys, three guys, four guys, is the way he was saying it. But basically just meaning, down the structural ladder of a business, who's at the top, like the CEO and down, and how a lot of people always perceive it the best position to be the number one guy, but that's not always true. There are lots of very, 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 very successful people that have made a shit ton of money that were not at the top of the business. And they were not best suited for the top of business and wouldn't want to be at the top of the business. So, whenever you own a business or you run a business, especially the larger it is, more money, more problems, as we like to say. But, of course, there's going to be a little bit more money to be obtained from being the CEO, or a lot more sometimes, depending on the business and, the differences there. But, a lot of the times it's not worth the hassle. It really isn't, for a lot of people. A lot of people aren't suited for it either. If you could go in and ask yourself, would you rather make $60,000 a year? Let's just pretend and throw hypothetical numbers out there. $60,000 a year, and all you have to do is show up every day, do what you need to do, go home, and when you leave, you're done, until the next day, right? Or would you rather make $100,000 and you have to deal with everybody's crap 24/7 because, as a business owner, you're pretty much always at work. It's really hard to have days off, and I'll say this from my perspective. Let's say it like this for a second. With me, if I'm off, let's just say on a Sunday, right? And I take Sundays and Mondays off, typically. Even though usually like today's a Monday, I'm about to be going into work and I'll be working on my day off, But let's just say on a Sunday, though I still am answering questions from clients consistently. I'm still taking phone calls. I'm still, doing all the things I need to do to run the business. And I need to make sure my phone's on me at all times, just in case something's going wrong at the shop, and they need me. Right? They need to call and ask for something or ask a question, or they need something fixed or whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. I need to be available, right? Now, a lot of people don't want that hassle, and of course, like all the other, problems that come along with owning a business, like with me, for example, the way that I look at things is it's not just my family I have to provide for. I have to make sure that there's a means for these other people that work with me, so that way they can provide for their families. So the way I look at it is that all of our families are my responsibility to a point. I need to make sure that everybody's taken care of, not just me and my family, So, and there's just a whole slew of things that come along with owning a business. Now, at the same time, when it comes to that, there are pros and cons, of course. There's definitely, pros. Obviously, there's the ability to make more money in the long run. You have more flexibility as far as your decision making. However, like they say, heavy is the head that wears the crown. I mean, you have to take in consideration so many things and always have other people's best interest at heart as well as your own, in all this decision making. Whereas a person that just comes into work, they don't have to do all that, not really. I mean, it's really good to have good people with good hearts and good intentions that work with you and for you and around you. But realistically, if you're an employee or a subcontractor or whatever you want to say, but you're coming in there just to work that day and then going home, you don't really have to worry about all the other ins and outs. You just need to make sure, as long as everything's there for you to do your job when you get there, that you can do it. And tattooing is no different, the world of tattooing. So, sometimes it's best of some people in their lives, their lifestyles, and they're happy, because it's very, very important to find a happy balance between, work and life, Fortunately, I always say that I'm extremely blessed because I don't mind going to work because I like what I do. I actually have a good time doing it. So it's not really like a job per se to me, even though it is. It's more like, I always tell people it's kind of more like a hobby that I just so happen to make money at, like a place I get to go hang out and get paid to do it, So I'm super lucky, super blessed for that. But, running the business isn't for everybody, Some people are, and there's nothing wrong with this either. Hear me out. That does not make either person more valuable or greater or anything like that than the other. Like, I'm not on some pedestal because I own the business. You know what I'm saying? I'm not bigger or badder or better or anything like that than the other guys there. It's not like that absolutely at all. And I never want it to be like that or looked upon like that. Now, so some people are they find it better and happier to have a happier lifestyle with a lot less stress, which I don't blame anybody for this. Good Lord, I don't blame anybody for this. A lot less stress, just being able to show up and go to work, and do your thing, and perform, make money, So, that's something really, really to take into consideration, what's going to make you happy. Now, also, too, let's backtrack a little bit, should you open up the business, when do you know you're ready, right? That's a very... If you decided that you are the type of individual that is what you want to do, you want to open up your own tattoo shop, right? Then go for it. Absolutely. How do you know you're ready? Well, I don't know if anybody's truly ever ready because there's always going to be things with any business or anything in life, there's risk, and there's a lot of unknowns and uncertainties. So that's something that you have to figure out for yourself, in an ideal situation, let's say, first off, you need to be able to perform, right? You're not going to be successful if you can't perform. So how do you know you're ready? Well, if you can't do pretty much any tattoo that walks through the door, then you're not ready, unless you can somehow magically find and hire other people that are better than you, which is always a good thing. I am always, I'm always looking for people around me that can help me grow, even though I'm the owner, and vice versa. So if you can't do all the tattoos that walk through the door, though, I wouldn't advise opening up your own tattoo shop, because you're not always going to be able to keep help. People are going to come and go. They have lives of their own, and it does not revolve around you. So they're going to come and go all the time, and they're going to do their own thing, So let them do that. You know what I mean? And don't be mad when they do. Love them. Let them do their thing. So if you can't do all the tattoos, can't perform, then that's not good for you. If you don't think that your ability to structure your tattoo shop in a way that allows you to tattoo and still manage and run it at the same time, then you probably shouldn't do it. Like with me, I'm not going to lie, most of the time I'm tattooing, but even while I'm tattooing, I'm usually like using my watch, or I'm hitting the speakerphone on my phone or whatever it is, and I'm answering phone calls and stuff while I'm tattooing. Thank God, pretty much all my clients know me and understand the situation and are okay with it. I also have to be very mindful at the same time while I'm doing these things that I'm still tattooing, and I need to give these people, my attention as absolutely much as possible, and respect that their time and money and all of those things are worthwhile, and I need to be mindful and respectful of that as well. So there's a lot that goes into owning and running a tattoo shop. Now, there's multiple ways that you can set up your shop to allow different things to happen and you to run it in different ways and fashions. There's not really like a one way to do it all. I hate people that say things like that, like this is the only way to do it. Like, no, man, you can do it however you want to, as long as it works and everybody's happy and everybody's getting what they deserve, and it's all running smoothly. So with that being said, if you can't I would say, number one, if you can't perform the tattoos required to run the shop without anybody there, then you should not open that shop yet. And two, this is where the finance part comes in, the money. Obviously it costs money to open up a shop, I'm a firm believer that you should open a business with the bare minimum required at any given time. I was talking to one of my best friends the other day, and he's starting a business, and I gave him a little bit of advice, some of the best advice I've ever heard. And usually when people go to open up a business, the one thing they all try to do, and the only thing they're thinking about is, where can I spend money? Like, where can I buy something? What can I buy for the business? Spend. And that's foolishness. And I understand why people do it, because I've been there, right? But the thing is, though, is that if you spend even, let's just crazy number, let's say you spend $20 million, right? You don't even have a business until you profit. Not really, So if you could start a tattoo shop, let's say with the bare minimum for $8,000 or $20,000 or $40,000 or whatever it may be, instead of spending 50, 60, 80 or 100 or whatever, then you should, but so back to the money part. If you have the money set aside and in your life, in your situation, you have the ability to to open up the tattoo shop, right? And you have the financial backing to do so, and a stable means of living. And as you start the business, which can take time, right? And all the unforeseens that can come, and I'll get into that in just a second. Then absolutely, why not? As long as your ability to perform is there and you have the financial backing to do so, however you have achieved that, which I'll go over in just a second as well, then absolutely. Keep in mind that there's going to be some unforeseen things happen. I'll give you a prime example. This last time when I opened up this tattoo shop, the pandemic hit. So there was months went by that I was unable to get into the shop and even really do anything. I started painting and stuff, but there wasn't a whole lot I could do because, every shop in the state of Florida was shut down for a period of time, from my understanding. So things like unforeseen things can happen constantly, so you really need to be able to navigate these things. And a lot of times, man, it can make or break you if you're not careful. So financial means is very important. Now, how you achieve these financial means is also important. And this can kind of come along into the part where, should you do it alone or not? I'm a firm believer that the best business practice is usually to go in alone, to not have partners. Because when you have partners, things can get very messy because you have disagreements. And ultimately, in the way that I look at things, at least, is, it's best to have one captain and then have advisors, just like, I don't know, like our country set up, we have a president, but the president has teams and teams and teams of people that have teams up under them of people to advise him, right? They bring all the best information possible and they give insight. And then based off these things, the president, is supposed to at least make these decisions, ultimately, the end final decision, right? The captain of any boat, that's his job, to listen to the mates and to listen to the other people and to base his decisions to where he sees fit, right? But ultimately he has the final decision. Well, when you have a business partner, you don't get that luxury, but also that burden, you have to go back and forth, and sometimes there's huge disagreements, which ultimately sometimes, depending on the partners, can actually cause a business to collapse and fail when it could have otherwise succeeded. So I would say it's best, if possible, to go in with zero debt as possible. Like, I've been fortunate enough, I have basically thugged it out and went through hell to make sure that I don't owe any money on my business. Every single thing surrounding it is paid for in cash. Like, I have no business loans. I don't owe no banks no money or nothing like that. Everything I've done, I've paid out of pocket in cash for, step by step by step. And I've constantly improved things over time to get the better and nicer stuff, which we do have, So that's where I would say, the whole partner thing, I mean, I've seen some people do it successfully. In fact, I can think of one in Texas. Him and his best friend, they opened up a shop years ago. Now they, time goes by, now they have reopened up another shop, and I assume that their business partner's in it, and I think it works for them, which that is amazing. But most of the time it doesn't. So most of the time I would suggest to stay clear of that. Now there's multiple different ways to find funding for finances, but keep in mind, do the bare minimum. You don't need the biggest and most nice stuff, at first to get started. People aren't just going to come in because you have a nice chair to sit in, right? I mean, literally, I've had other business owners and stuff cancel appointments and other high-end shops in other cities to come to my house in the laundry room right next to while my laundry's getting done, right, to tattoo on some janky ass chair that I bought off Amazon, right? Because they believed in me and the product that I had and what what I was offering and the level of quality that I could give, so that's really, really, really important. So you really need to ask yourself, what kind of person am I? What do I want out of this? And what lifestyle would I like to achieve out of this? Now I always do suggest too, if you can work in a shop or shops for a little while to learn about the businesses and the business aspect of things, then do that first. And I'll give you another example in my life. I actually moved to Texas. I found a shop over there that was doing really well financially, and I chose to go there specifically so that way I could study the other artists and the business structure there and implement all these things into my business later, which I did. So it's very good to surround yourself in a successful situation and place if possible, so that way you could learn from these things and you could utilize all this. Like something that's going to sound really bad that I'm about to say anyways, Mario Barth actually said it on a video I watched years and years and years ago. He said a good artist steals from other artists, and I think what he meant by that stands true. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, man. You just got to find what works and then implement the things that work so it works for you. So should you go and start your own shop, if you find all these things to check off in the boxes and that find it to be the best fit and what you ultimately want, then absolutely go for it. And be prepared to fail, because things are going to fail. Right? It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be great like you think it is. And you're not going to get rich like you think you are. You're going to have a lot of problems and burdens and things that you're not expecting, but it can be worth it. I personally have no desire ever to work for anybody else ever again. And I never will if I can help it. I haven't worked for anybody except for that one time for a few months up there in Texas to go do that. I haven't worked for anybody in years, and I don't intend to. But then again, I know the type of person I am, and I know that I'm not suited to work for other people. It doesn't work out for me, I'm not good at it. But at the same time, I think there's other people that are just, they thrive actually better when they don't have all them stresses and burdens and stuff. And they can actually, believe it or not, make more money in that situation rather than owning a company than they would if they own the company, because of the persons they are. And it's not good or bad or nothing like that, less or more. It's just what they're better suited for, and they're taking advantage of the opportunities that God has given them and the abilities to maximize with, right? So make these decisions based off all these factors and more. And if this does, and maybe I'll make another video elaborating more on this afterwards too. So this will be part 1 of this. If y'all have any more questions, drop them down in the comments, and I will do my best to answer all these as I can. As always, love y'all. God bless.